Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to Football Heritage TV. It is, as always, the day after the defeat before. I'm joined by Chris B, a good friend of mine and a long-suffering Spurs season ticket holder. Chris, happy Monday to you. How are you doing today?
Yeah, all good, thanks. Not much to be positive about on the football front, but we'll get to that. But yeah, it's Monday. I'm sure there's other meaningfully good things going on in the universe.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one thing we do know is there was nothing meaningfully good going on at Selhurst Park yesterday. A really difficult game. When you take a step back and you try and say, okay, what were the positives? I don't know about you, other than the fact that we gave a Premier League full debut to Mikey Moore. I can't think of a single positive. I don't know if that's me just being completely negative, but I thought that reminded me yesterday, Chris, of Spurs from years gone by. Just complete and utter, I don't know if this is a word, just nothingness. Nothing. There was nothing there. What was your overall thoughts on the game and the day?
It was a nice Sunday. It's about 15 degrees. It was sunny. It was lovely taking the dogs for a walk in the morning.
Yeah.
Then things sort of got worse from 2 o'clock onwards. And that wasn't the dodgy stream I watched the game on. It was the Tottenham performance that will surprise no long-standing Tottenham fans. There wasn't anything positive that could be taken away from that game.
Yeah.
And your opening paragraph, you said the words negativity. It's not negative, it's realism. It's been adult and grown up and sensible enough to tell the truth. And we talk about a positive in Mikey Moore making his debut. It's always good to see graduates from the academy putting on the first team shirt and playing in the first team. But we're really guilty of over egging something. So on Friday morning, after the European game, I get up and do that thing of looking at X from the night before. There's a picture of a gravy and a different gravy, and the different gravy is Mikey Moore. We have got to stop overhyping and over egging young kids who we potentially may break because our fan base expects them to be future Ballon d'Or winners when they haven't even completed 180 minutes football for this football club. Stop doing it.
Isn't this all born though, Chris? This is born surely from this absolute desire to be better than we are, and probably I could have said that better. This is born from the fact that we are so starved of success on the pitch, off the pitch. Players coming through the youth system. I mean, I spoke yesterday at the beginning of my show, Chris, and said that in the last 30 years, if we take roughly the Premier League's been going, 32 years, something like that. Spurs have brought through 3 top players in 30 years, which is Sol Campbell, don't shoot me, Ledley King, and Harry Kane. Other than that, a lot of run-of-the-mill players. And now, unfortunately, because of the internet, because everybody's got a voice now, what we're doing is we're finding players that haven't achieved anything yet. We've got no way of knowing if they're going to achieve anything. And we put them, as you said, they're gravy. They are the best thing. Oh, this player, I'm seeing Mikey Moore is like Chris Waddle. Mikey Moore is like Messi. Is it because we've been so starved, Chris, that we're living in such hope?
We crave success. We forgot what championships and titles look like. And we also celebrate mediocrity. The smallest of things that we think are positive, we attach ourselves to and herald as a success. We've got to lose the small club mentality. We've got to behave like Manchester City, like Liverpool, and dare I say, like Arsenal. Yeah. And we've got to get out of this habit. Some of the nonsense you read on social media, it's enough to make a grown man cry. Absolutely ridiculous, pathetic. But going back to yesterday, one of the worst performances I've ever seen from Tottenham. I'm 47 years of age. I've held a season ticket since 1990. No leaders on the pitch, no game plan. We've got a World Cup winning centre-back who, quite frankly, needs to be spending some time getting splinters in his backside on the bench. Because his performances have been nothing short of shambolic.
But we're at a stage, though, Chris, where, if anyone was to suggest, you know what, Romero's not playing well, and not just him, we'll talk about other players, but Romero's not playing well, listen, let's rotate him. We can use whatever word you want. Let's drop him. Let's rotate him. Let's leave him out. Whatever you want to say. When you suggest that, our fans have aneurysms. Our fans lose their minds. Oh my God, that's Romero and Cootie, and he's amazing. But other football clubs buy players for this very reason. And Tottenham Hotspur last January, we're going back nearly a year now. Our fans lost their mind. Oh my God, we've signed Dragoshin. And oh my God, can you believe overnight he picked Spurs over Bayern Munich, and this is great, and he's brilliant. Now, the mere suggestion that this guy should get 90 minutes to show what he can do, and our fans go, whoa, you can't drop Romero. But isn't that sending the wrong message, Chris? Isn't it sending the message that it doesn't matter how bad these guys play, they're untouchable?
I think the message that we should be adhering to is you're only as good as your last game. So you can have the biggest reputation in world football, you can have the sexiest name on the back of the shirt, but if you don't put in the performance, then you shouldn't get to start the next game. And there's a difference between elite clubs and where we are. And your Vicarios, your Romeros, they're going to start every game because they haven't got competition or nobody to push them. But at your bigger clubs, if you're not performing, you're sitting watching the game from the sidelines. And we've got like Adoji. He knows if he's fit, he's going to start every game, because if he doesn't, who we go bring? Ben Davies in to replace him, and then we can both predict the outfall from that decision and the fan base losing it on social media. So again, you haven't got anybody to push that bloke on a weekly basis.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I find it very funny. And look, we've got a lot to unpack. We're only going to go for about 40 minutes or so, but we've got a lot to unpack this morning, Chris. And look, I've titled this show that Spurs are in a perpetual state of meh. Right now, there's a sentence I never thought I would actually use: a perpetual state of meh, which might be the title of my autobiography one day if I ever release one. And what I mean by that, Chris, is I know we live in a very reactionary world, don't we? We live in a Spurs beat West Ham. Oh my God, this is the best football we've ever seen, and Ange is the greatest manager. To, oh my God, we've lost to Crystal Palace. Could we get relegated? And all the silliness that lives in between. For me, I've said this, and you speak to me every day. You're part of my one and only football WhatsApp group that I'm in, right? You should be very proud of that. And we talk football all day long. There's people like me. There's you. There's people like Pete. There's Nige from Pure Coys. Perchy's in there. And you guys see my opinions every day, that they're not fake for YouTube. You see what my opinions are. And I've said for about a year and a half now, Chris, that do I think Spurs are crap? No. Do I think Spurs are good? No. I think we are meh. I think we are this team that will rock up. We will batter a Man United and everyone loses their mind. We will batter West Ham. But you know what? We'll also be bloody appalling against Coventry. We'll be appalling against Crystal Palace. We'll lose to all the bigger teams that are out there. And for me, that's why my sentence of being in a perpetual state of meh, for me, that's what we are. Everyone's telling me to jump on board, Chris. I'm struggling to understand, what are we meant to be jumping on board with?
I think the reality of it is, Sava, is we're a mid-table team at best. We are not going to challenge for the top 5 or 6. We've not got a good enough squad. We've not got a good enough manager. And we hover just above that relegation battle. And that's proven in our recent results. We don't beat the big teams, yet we come unstuck against the supposed lesser teams. And anybody with an ounce of integrity or skill about them can outcoach our manager. It's not difficult. Like the Palace manager yesterday achieved really good stuff in Germany. In his first season for Palace, we were all wooing and worrying about him. Certain things have happened there that haven't helped him out. But yesterday, we could have played until the 28th of October 2030, 6 years from now, and we still wouldn't have scored in that game. And the absolute ridiculousness of it all was, we take off Maddison and we take off Cooley, our most creative players. And then for the first time ever, we go 2 up front. Unfortunately, those 2 were Richarlison, who is rubbish and will always be rubbish, and Solanke, again, I feel sorry for that lad. But who is going to provide the ammunition? Who is going to provide the creativity or the spark? Palace outnumbered us in midfield. It was comfortable. Henderson had one save to make from, was it Maddison towards the very end of the first half?
Yes, yeah, low down, yeah.
But apart from that, Douglas Bader could have played in goal for Palace on that day and succeeded. It was not difficult.
But are you surprised that one of the things that I messaged you this morning about, and I just couldn't wrap my head around this. I'm doing the live watch along, and you see, first of all, I think the decision to take off both Kulu and Maddison was it was mind numbing. It was baffling. I get it. If you want to take one of them off, and for me, it should have been Kulu. He was on a yellow card. It wasn't a good game for Kulu yesterday. But you've taken off both your sources of creativity and goals from midfield. Fair enough. Okay, you're trying something new. Okay, cool. But to get away with that, you've got to do something different. So he puts on what? You've got the two wide men and two 6 foot two. I'm guessing they're both 6'2", 6'3" plus, right? Richarlison and Solanke. So you've gone essentially to a 4-4-2. Everyone knows if you're going to do that and you're going to put two centre forwards in, you've got to get balls in the box. You've got two blokes who I don't particularly rate either of them, if I'm going to be brutally honest. But what they are both good at is they're both good in the air. And yet, Chris, no crosses went into the box. And for the last 15 minutes, plus the 7 minutes of injury time, pass. This is in midfield. Pass. You're thinking, why did you take off Maddison and Kulusevski then if you're not going to change the tactics? And it just stinks to me that this guy is amateur. I don't, I don't rate him, Chris. I don't rate him. I think he's very, very, I think he talks a great game. But isn't very good.
Yesterday, we were up against a bloke who was magnificent and starts in front of Romero week in, week out for me, and that was Mark Gouy, centre back for Palace. And alongside him was that Maxime Lacroix, is it? The Frenchman they signed from. So the two of them, they could have played all day. There was no threat from our centre forwards. It was a comfortable game of the old school art of defending. But you just look at the team was flat. There are no leaders in that team. And it's got to the point where I've got no love or association to any of the players who wear a Spurs shirt. Years gone by, you've had your favourites, you've had somebody you could bond with, somebody you could link to, somebody who excited you, got you off your seat. None of these guys make you get up and send a shiver down your spine, like when David Ginola used to get hold of the ball, Chris Waddle, Paul Gascoigne, Dimitar Berbatov, that fella called Gareth Bale that night against Inter Milan, Taxi from Icon. We have been so starved of those footballing moments. We now get excited when Kulu or Maddison does something half reasonable. But again, I said this to you earlier, the post-match comments of Postecoglou caused me massive concern, where he said I was stood on the touchline watching the game, and we were getting involved in confrontations, niggles, the ball was going out of play. I could see it wasn't happening for us. It's not your job to watch the game. It's your job to coach the team. Us as fans sit on the touchlines and watch the game. The fact he was watching and said it was going out of our control, what you paid to do, that's where you should be changing the tactics, going to a 3 at the back, 5 in midfield, 2 up top, or bringing some earlier substitutions on. But he does nothing. But the bloke's getting really prickly when he's spoken to by the press after the game. I think he has ideas of grandeur where he thinks that he is one of the world's best coaches, has achieved so much. Back that up. Where's that proven? You've managed in Mickey Mouse leagues.
Yeah, no, listen, I agree with you. And do you know what? Look, I'm not going to, I know that what this fan base wants to see is videos of Angie and Angie out. I can't bother with all that. I said to you for weeks, I've gone past the stage of caring now. I'm at the stage where I kind of feel like we've got not all of us, but I think a lot of people have got what they deserve. That the blind love, faith, and optimism for a manager that isn't doing a good job, Chris, is actually baffling me. I've never known anything like it. And look, we've got some stats and stuff that I wanna bring up. And people will point to, oh, well, that's only our second defeat in our last 8 games or whatever it is. But 4 of that 6 winning game streak has been built up by Ferencváros, Coventry, Alkmaar, Karabag.
Who we struggled against enormously.
Right. I thought we struggled against Coventry, Ferencváros. We struggled against Alkmaar. Karabag, if they could finish their dinner, we were in. But these wins are making people go, oh my God, look how great Ange is, blah, blah, blah. We're the best team in the Europa. We're going to win. I'm truly concerned by what I'm watching, Chris. And you know what? I'm gonna show you, just to back it up. I'm going to show you a few things. This is the headline for me. This is the headline for me of all of it, right? Is that this is our worst start in 17 years. And when I bring up stats like this, Chris, what I get is straight away, oh, you've cherry picked. I mean, Chris, I can't cherry pick 17 years worth of league starts. Oh, but you're only judging it after 9 games. Well, yes, because that's why it's called the worst start. It's not called the worst midpoint. It's called the worst start in 17 years because that's what it's been. The only start that's worse than this in the last 20 years, by the way, sorry, in the last 24 years, was the year when one day Ramos took 2 points from 8 games and then Harry took over. That is the only start in 24 years, Chris, that is worse than what we're seeing now. Yet the loving is like this guy is coming off the back of a treble winning season. What do you make about this worst start in 17 years business?
Well, the stats don't lie, do they? And you can't disguise the fact. And look at the away wins. 2 away wins in.
Oh, we'll get to that. I've got that. Yeah. Don't worry, Chris. We'll get there.
Yeah. But then we also, you think about the discontent and the vocalness of our fans when Nuno Espirito Santo was in charge, and we were also almost chasing him with pitchforks down Tottenham Court Road because of the performances he served up and the results that we got. But he's actually got better statistics than Ange Postecoglou. I do not know how Ange gets a free pass from our fans. I do not know where the fake love comes from, and I do not know why everybody's so defensive and protective of him. To achieve that status in professional sports, you have to achieve something. You have to deliver. Yeah. He's delivered absolutely nothing. So why the fake narrative? Give him time. It's a project. You give him too much time, you'll be playing away at Barnsley in the Championship next season. And that's not an over-exaggeration. That is the reality of the situation we find ourselves in. Everything about the man says that he was probably our 5th or 8th choice. And now we can see why he's our 5th or 8th choice appointment.
Completely.
Because he's not very good. How many players has that man coached in the last 12 months? Tell me a player that he's actually developed who is better now than they were when he arrived at Tottenham on day one.
Well, do you know what, Chris? That's an amazing point. I was watching a show last night, and this is what they were talking about. Who has Ange improved? And the kind of wishy-washy answer that we all give, still I don't believe, is Porro. And what I find interesting about that is the reason why people think he's improved Porro is because Porro's first couple of games in a Spurs shirt were terrible. But if anyone had actually watched Sporting Lisbon play, Porro was a very good footballer. Yeah. But Porro still can't defend, right? So when we're talking about who's he coached better, I don't think Romero's any better at all. I think, if anything, Romero, who, you know me, I've always said he's okay, but I've never rated him as high as others. I think Romero's regressed. Van de Ven this season, for me, has regressed. I think Destiny Udogie, for me, I've never really rated.
Terrible. Anyway. Brain farts galore, concentration of a gnat.
Kulu, people will say, oh, well, since he's been moved into the middle, he's progressed, he's brilliant. But again, Kulu, for me, another game, when it's not going well yesterday, I don't see Kulu. When it's not going well, people go, is he the best midfielder in the league? No, the top midfielders in the league grab the game by a scruff of the neck. And this guy has the inability to do it when we're not winning. Maddison's not improved. Brennan Johnson.
Maddison gone so far backward that he's almost returned to the central aisle of Aldi where we got him from.
Mate, the thing is, you've got James Maddison now, who is a playmaker. James Maddison is a number 10 playing deep lying midfield.
Did you see the look of Maddison's face when he was substitute yesterday?
Yeah,
That said to me, a bloke who thought to himself, "This bloke does not know what he's doing. Why is he hooked me
I
off?
agree.
It makes no
I agree.
sense whatsoever."
But do you know what was funny? And we'll go into some more stats in a minute. But yesterday I said this. I said, when you look at what this bloke is doing, he's got 2 wing backs at fullback. So you've got 2 wing backs out of position playing at fullback. You've got Basuma or Bentancur playing as number 6 when they're not number 6s. You've got James Maddison, who's playing in a kind of number 8 deep lying role when he is a number 10 playmaker. Brennan Johnson's playing on the right wing. Brennan Johnson is not a right winger. He is a forward, whatever we want to say. You've got Dominic Solanke, who is a centre forward, but is kind of dropping into this fake number 10 role, doing more of the link-up play than he actually is as a centre forward. It seems square pegs, round holes, but yet our fans look at it and go, this manager's great. I don't think he's improved as a footballer.
Let me pause you there. I don't know if you can actually see that. Probably not.
I've got it to bring up. Don't worry, mate.
But that is a tweet earlier this morning. Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall have impressed so much in training and pre-season friendlies that Tottenham no longer consider signing in a new all-action midfielder as a priority.
Chris, I'm not an amateur. I've got it. Yeah, but this is what I mean, Chris. I mean, look, we'll come back to this. Remind me, we'll come back to that. But look, I just want to continue on the other stats, right? So we've got the worst start in 17 years. This stat for me is what I would expect from a relegated club, right? This next one. Spurs have had 3 away wins in the league, right? If we want to not count just the league, I can add in Coventry and Ferencvaros to this list, which is sad anyway. Spurs away wins in 2024. Aston Villa, which is the standout one, right? Sheffield United, who were already relegated. We played them on the last day of the season at Bramall Lane. And Man United, who are an absolute mess. And if reports are to be believed, Ten Hag's going to get the sack in the next 48 hours, right? That is Tottenham's 3 away wins in the league, Chris, in nearly 11 months of football. Now, please put into words for me, how deeply embarrassing is that?
Do you know when you are that embarrassed, you just give in with your own football club? And once upon a time, I'd be horrendous to be around with the family. Once we'd lost a game, the dogs would get a kick. The wife maybe would be told in no uncertain terms to give me some private time. But now it's just, you become used to it, and there's no personal investment in the club because they are not what you would expect of a Premiership club or a club who have allowed their manager to spend close to 400 million on transfers, where your numbers are so minute that you're regressing, you're not progressing, you're not taking forward steps. But again, people won't accept that. And by virtue of telling the truth and saying the facts, will be labelled negative, will be labelled every name under the sun.
Right.
Yet we're grown up enough, we're educated enough, and we're smart enough to actually say, hey, there's a problem here. Do you think Man City would tolerate a manager with 3 away wins in a calendar year?
Would anyone anyone?
We do, don't we? So yes we are.
I mean, Chris, let's let this sink in, right? People will go, oh, you're cherry picking. This is 2024. 2024. How many days into 2024 are we? By the power of denomination, I'm going to say about 300 days into 2024. Just by the fact that
about 303, 304 days. Yeah,
right. And in that time, so we're averaging an away win every 100 days, right? That is absolutely shambolic. Now, bearing in mind, this is a manager that spent nearly £400 million, right? This is a manager that last year people are telling me we can win the league with this squad. Right. Now, off the back of that, Chris, 3 away wins in 2024. They keep coming, Christopher. Don't you worry about that. And I've full named you. That's how embarrassed I am by all this. I've full named you. So 3 away wins in 2024. Let's go even further. These are league away games. Look at the state of that. 4 away wins in the last 19.
Richard, and how many clean sheets have we kept in the last 19 games?
Do you know what? I don't know. I was putting some of this together, Chris, and I thought to myself, I can't keep going. This is truly embarrassing. And I see videos going, it's different at Spurs. It is different. And Ange Ball and we're battering teams. Look at the state of this. 4 away wins in 19.
But you're not allowed to say that.
Do you know who the other one was, by the way? Do you know who the fourth one was to add on to the 3 we just had?
Was it Luton Town?
It was Nottingham Forest.
Okay.
It was Nottingham Forest, who last year were in a relegation battle when we beat them. This is where we're at.
So the problem is that you engage with people, and I know engaging with people on social media is not a cool thing to do. Yeah, so I just put a casual little tweet out there yesterday about some home truths.
Yeah.
And you get, who is the user? Cheers to Spurs and wild conspiracy theories. Who replied, says the 2 idiots complaining about one of the youngest team in the league losing their second game in their last 9, followed by a clown emoji. You have morons and idiots out there replying such things. And again, people cannot see the facts. There's always some...
Do you know what? Chris, do you know what? When people say things like young team, hang on, that's by design. And first of all, I don't think it's that young. Let's be brutally honest. Dominic Solanke is 27 years of age. James Maddison is 28 years of age. Heung-min Son is
32.
Yeah. 32, 33, right? Years of age. Bentancur is 26, 27 years of age, right? Basuma is 26, 27 years of age. Christian Romero is 26, 27 years of age. Vicario is 26. Look, there's a few young ones in there. Like if we're going to say Mikey Moore at 17, Brennan Johnson's 24 now? Is he 24? We're making out that we've got a team of 18-year-olds. And for me, what cracks me up is the same fans go, oh my God, it's well exciting. Look how young this team is. And look what we've done. Look what we've bought in the market. They're the very same fans that the moment it doesn't go well, all the excuses come out. Because do you know why, Chris? People are incapable of turning around and going, I got it wrong. There's no judgment. If you turn around to me and went, you know what? I'm not saying you said this, but if you turn around to me and went, Sav, do you know what? I completely got this wrong. My prediction on this was wrong. I'll turn around and go, yeah, and we have a laugh about it. But people dig their heels in and they are now so invested in their own delusion that they double down on it. And I'm going to show you, Chris. I'm going to prove it. Ready? Look at this. This is enough to get any manager sacked, let alone at Tottenham Hotspur. This is our last 16 Premier League games. 9 defeats from our last 16 games. Now, whether people go, oh, but that was last year. Well, hang on. It's carried on. It's carried on. We lost 5 of our last 7 last year. 5 of the last 7. And the 2 that we won in between, by the way, were Burnley and Sheffield United, right? So of the 16, we've lost 9. Of the games we won, we beat Burnley and Sheffield United, who both got relegated. We've beaten Everton, Brentford, Man U, and West Ham.
And what makes me laugh is there's all this contingent, there's this element of the fan base out there saying, oh, you've got to give him time. Well, look how quickly Maresca's gone into Chelsea and got them up and running. I watched them yesterday. People took the piss out of that Nicholas Jackson week in, week out. Scored for the second consecutive game yesterday. Who would I rather have up front, Nicholas Jackson or any of our forwards?
For sure.
Him every day of the week.
For sure.
It's not the narrative of needing time. It's the narrative of having a clear vision and a clear plan and implementing that throughout the squad. Our players look lost. They look confused. They look like they don't know what he's telling them, or they've not bought into it, and they don't play to what he's trying to achieve. And once there becomes unrest, the changing room is bigger than any manager. No manager is bigger than the changing room. As soon as you lose the changing room and you lose the players, that's your card marked and your day's numbered. And I get the feeling he's not really a arm round the shoulder, kind of guy who sees players through difficult times, builds up their confidence, manages their egos, and wants to see them develop. I think he's not actively there on the training pitch Monday to
I
Friday.
agree.
I look at his coaching network, and no disrespect, Emil Jedinak, who played for Crystal Palace, central midfielder, Australian international, Ryan Melson, he's done a lot for Tottenham. I'm not going to knock him. But you look at the club and you think we have just, the whole
It's
thing
not
needs
serious, is
reset.
it?
There is no infrastructure. We're just a joke as a football club. It's like it's a social experiment to see how far we can push our own fan base to breaking point.
Yeah. I'm just, look, as I said, I'm not going to sit here and go Ange out. It's pointless. It's not happening. It's a futile exercise.
He's never going to be sacked under this current regime. The only chance we have of him going is the saviour, the Dark Knight, Amanda Staveley coming through the doors, bringing with her a load of wealth and actually being hands-on and saying, look, we need some success on the pitch, and bringing somebody capable, young and full of ideas. Because let's face it, it'll be season number 3 if he gets to that point next season. He was on a 4-year contract. When there's so much concern around his player acquisition, his player identification, his general tactics, so you go give this bloke another £400 million to spend? I'd suggest not. But the longer you continue with the project, which is in decline, the greater risk you are doing to the Tottenham Hotspur brand. And football's such a fast-moving thing. Yeah. You might not never get it back.
No, absolutely. And look, as I was saying, I think it's a futile exercise to talk about Ange leaving. Look, I've never rated him. This isn't, and by the way, this isn't about losing to Crystal Palace. Like, I'm calm about this, Chris. I remember back in the day, look, you've known me for years now. Back in the day, I would have been like, Spurs have. Now I'm just kind of like, oh, this is Spurs. This is what we do. But what I can't do, Chris, I can't bury myself in this fluff and delusion that things have changed. And that's why.
Another thing I've seen about coaching ability is Arne Slot turns up at Liverpool, hasn't actually signed any players to contribute to that existing squad that he took over from Klopp. Yeah. But something he has done is, you look how he's coached and brought that Gravenberch back into the fold. And Gravenberch is now an instrumental central midfielder sitting in the deep lying role for Liverpool. Yet under Klopp, that bloke didn't get minutes at all.
Yeah.
So you've got, again, somebody who's come in, taken the existing cohort of players, but he's changed the philosophy. And Liverpool are a lot more aggressive now under Slot in their pressing and flying into the tackles. Yeah. So, but he is
one's a proper coach, isn't he? I mean, one is a proper coach, and you see this throughout the Premier League, Chris. There are people who are managers there, and then there's people who are coaches. You can see who the coaches are, because there are, and we're going to look at the league table in a minute, and I'll go a bit deeper into that. But look, this is an embarrassing stat. This is what I would expect from a team in the bottom 3. 9 defeats from 16 is relegation form. And then the last one I'm going to put up here is this. Now, the 111 points, Chris, the reason why it's that, this is from the Tottenham, after the Tottenham Chelsea game last year, right? Where we lost 4-1 at home. Do you know it is exactly a year to the day since Spurs stopped that 10-game run at the beginning of last season? And it's a year to the day that we won the game, not the game we lost against Chelsea. Since then, we've had 111 points available in the league. This guy has taken 53. When you look at that, Chris, by the way, just to average that out, right? Because what he's done is, since then he's had 37 games as manager. Right? If I'm not wrong, 28 at the end of last season, 9 at the beginning. He's had 37 games as manager. Right? I'm hoping 3 37s is 111. I think 90. Yeah? Something like. Yeah. Okay. Somewhere in and around that. Look at the state of this. That form would have us 11th or 12th, depending on the season. Every year is different. That form over the last 37 games would have us 11th or 12th in a Premier League table, Chris. So essentially, other than that 10-game new manager bounce at the beginning of last season, this manager's done a dreadful job. a truly dreadful job and is praised and loved. He's done a terrible job. Factually.
Well, you wait until City turn up on Wednesday night with a youth team and have full squad side.
I mean, look, we're gonna talk about City because that's going to be interesting. But before we do, look, I just wanted to move on. Look, and again, these stats aren't made up. 53 and 111, 4 away wins in 19, worst start in 17 years, 9 defeats from the last 16, 3 away wins. These are not made up. These are factually there for everyone to see. Now, if people want to say, Savvy, you're being harsh, what about the Europa League? Brilliant. But if I had said to you, Chris, you're going to play Karabag, Ferencvaros, and AZ Alkmaar, 2 of those games are at White Hart Lane. Sorry, would you have been impressed with 9 points or demanding 9 points?
Well, they're the teams that we should be seeing off with ease, shouldn't we? Yet we didn't. We had a 1-0 with a penalty. We had Ferencvaros away. They could have equalised that game. A couple of gilt-edged missed chances. And you think we have aspirations to be in the Champions League. Remember when we played Bayern Munich at Wembley, was it? And they ripped us a new one. Well, if we came up against the Barcelona side that destroyed Real Madrid in the El Clasico on Saturday night, they would be calling for police assistance because we've been the victim of such serious sexual offences. It would be men against boys. And you think we're not ready to come up against the Barcelonas, the Juventuses, the Real Madrid.
But the funny thing is, Chris, all of Barcelona's team are young boys. That's the strange thing. It's like men v boys in ability, but boys. See, now that is a proper youth project, if you want to call it that.
Hansi Flick is a quality coach, unlike Ange Postecoglou. And you think that they didn't even have Mark ter Stegen, the German goalkeeper, in goal, or they were lacking some of their. But you had young players who he believes in, and he gives them minutes. So far, our £40 million summer signing that we always talk about, we'll apologise for it now, but we always talk about him, Archie Gray, so good. We've never seen him deployed in a league game in his actual position.
Right. Chris, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Now, big up Tottenham Tears. Whoever they are, big up to them. I'm sure they're lovely people. They put out a post, and basically this went round from a lot of credible sources saying that Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall have impressed so much in training and pre-season friendlies that Tottenham no longer consider signing a new all-action midfielder as a priority. Now, Chris, at the time, people like me and you, people like there's other YouTubers, I'm not going to name names, other YouTubers, we turned around and said, this is crazy. We need some seniority. We need some ready-made, oven-ready cooked players to come in and rotate in and out for league games, cup games, Europa League. Half the fan base went, but this youth project, and Gray and Bergvall are 2 of the greatest talents in world football. I don't know how they made that up or got to that conclusion. And again, Chris, another game you get to yesterday where when Spurs are losing, where are these players coming on? Where are they?
Well, it said everything to me that Palace lost probably one of their most influential players, Jefferson Lerma, the midfielder. He limped off. And no disrespect for the lad, he's an honest pro, but they brought on Will Hughes, who I can remember playing at Derby County. He's not a fantastic player. He's an honest worker. But Will Hughes was pirouetting for our midfield like a knife through butter.
Yeah.
And you talk about these great young players and the future project, but you need proven quality alongside them to coach and mentor them and to talk them through games. You look at Davison Sanchez, when he played in that back 3 alongside Jan Vertonghen and Toby Alderweireld, he looked good because he was alongside quality and they coached him and talked him through. When they disappeared, his true value and ability shone through for all to see. But we've not got, there's no leaders on the pitch. You've got no proven quality. If you had one of these youngsters coming up playing alongside a Scott Parker, a Michael Carrick, a Luka Modric,
a Michael Dawson,
Michael Dawson, arguably my favourite player of all time, Moussa Dembele. If you had him in central midfield alongside these guys, they're learning from true pros on the training pitch Monday to Friday. They're being coached throughout the game. They've got somebody they can look to when it gets tricky. Who have we got? Absolutely nobody. And you talk about that next generation of future Balloon d'Or winners. Scarlett, 2 goals in his last 2 games for Oxford, but apart from that, very underwhelming. Or
Yeah.
who's the Donnelly? Can't even get a game at Leighton Orient.
Yeah.
And then
hasn't got a single goal or assist in 3 months at Leighton Orient.
Valise is getting splinters in his arse on the bench at Sevilla, scored 1 goal. So you look at all these young prospects, none of them are doing anything. And unless we change our rhetoric and start signing players for the now, not the future, we're never going to go anywhere.
Do you know the funny thing is, I don't know if you know Maz. So Maz was on a stream last night, and I really like Maz. He's like us. He's very honest about it. He's not, oh my God, it's Spurs, I must say something nice. It's very honest assessment. Maz turned around and said, when you look at the squad that Anne just built, he's built a squad of wimps. Now, I'm not saying there's not any ability in there, but he's built a squad that's flimsy. There's no men in there. There's no, do you know what I mean? Real tough quality men with that mentality. And this is what made me laugh when there was a lot of talk in the summer about Conor Gallagher. And I remember lots of our fans were saying, oh, he's not very good. He's not better than Basuma, than Bentancur. And I remember turning around and saying, if you want to play this style of football, you need a Conor Gallagher. Now, do I think Conor Gallagher's the greatest midfielder I've ever seen play football? No. But do you know what, Chris? Every single week, I know Conor Gallagher's given me a 7 or 8 out of 10. I know he's going to give me 100% work rate and commitment. I know that he's vocal on the pitch. I know that he's got a fantastic engine. But yet our fans, we want Bentancur, who has 1 good game in 3, and then we try and tell everyone he's world class. We want Patrick, who's generational, right? We want Bergvals and Grays. Until we go out and buy some men, real leaders, right? Nothing's going to happen. And let me give you a quick soundbite, right, Chris? I watched yesterday. It came up. You know, sometimes if you're going through YouTube Shorts, it comes up your little videos. And there was a little video, and it was asking David Beckham the best 5-a-side team he's ever played with. Right now, bearing in mind, David Beckham's played for Man United, Real Madrid, PSG, whoever I've missed out. Who? Preston, Preston. AC Milan. And so he starts off and he goes, Paolo Maldini. And you're like, what the hell? That's, you know, he then goes, Roberto Carlos. Oh, Jesus Christ, this is going to be a team. Then he goes, Zinedine Zidane. Then he goes R9. You're like, Jesus Christ, what a team. And then he goes, Roy Keane. And he went, Roy was the ultimate leader. He was the ultimate leader, captain. And he says he was a man. He was a man. He is coming into changing rooms at half time when you've had a game like yesterday against Palace. And he is going, what is going on? Sort this out. Track your runner. And I'm not saying there are Roy Keanes everywhere, Chris, but we've got no men. We've got lots of, like Sonny, who's our captain. He's nice. He's a nice guy. He's lovable. He does handshakes with everybody. I want a man. I even want a Michael. Sorry, I'm ranting, but I want a Michael Dawson. I want a leader. I want someone that goes out there and bleeds Tottenham Hotspur.
I wouldn't be surprised if some of our squad don't define as non-binary, to be perfectly truthful. Can you imagine when we're up against the wee feisty little Scotsman, John McGinn, on Sunday, alongside the big Belgian destroyer Nana? We've got 2 blokes in that midfield who will absolutely rough us, duff us, and tough us up the whole way through that 90 minutes.
Well, look, for me, Chris, look, we've got, just quickly, we've got 5 minutes, right, because I know you've got to get ready for a meeting. We've got Man City in the Cup on Wednesday night, and then we've got Villa at home. For me, I think just more than anything, for feel-good factor, he's got to win one of them. And I don't know whether or not the best chance of that is going to be at home to Villa, or whether it's going to be against a really heavily rotated Manchester City side. But do you agree? Do you think he's got to win one of them to get some feel-good factor back into the fan base?
But winning against a depleted youth side from Man City isn't something we should be celebrating as an accolade or heralding.
Sure,
we should be mixing it and competing on a par with Premiership rivals. So yes, he's got to win against Man City, but he needs to turn up at the Tottenham Stadium and win, because it's only the occasional few home victories that are masking an even worse record for this guy. And it's all smoke and mirrors, isn't it? We win a couple, deluded fan base come up with these stupid tweets and social media feeds about we're 4 points off third place. Or you could actually look at it in reverse and say we're only 4 points off Everton, who are 16th in the table, and we're absolutely pony when they turned up at the Tottenham Stadium earlier this season. So he has got to get a run of victories together, because he's quickly running out of excuses. But he's not a man to accept his own mistakes and to look at himself in the mirror and say, I need to have a honest yet uncomfortable conversation with myself and my training squad. He's not got it in him.
Well, Chris, look, I want to quickly, we've got 3 minutes. I want to look at this quickly. And the telling thing when we look at this league table now, look, league tables change. In 3 games time, we could have won 3 and we're back in the top 4, blah, blah, blah.
Hey, there's Nottingham Forest coached by Nuno Espirito Santo, who everybody hated at Tottenham, and he wasn't good enough for us. But now you're giving him the opportunity to implement his own style of football and bring in his own players. It's got Forest flying.
Well, this is my point. When you look at the 4 immediate teams above us, right? Everyone's saying, oh, Ange needs time to implement his system. Apparently, you need more than 18 months to implement a system. Aston Villa, and I keep telling people this stat because this is a proper stat. When you look at all of Ange's, he's been at the football club for 2 years and 2 weeks now. Don't know if you knew that. He's been at the football club 105 weeks. For 105 weeks consistently, he's been in the top 4 for form. He's been in the top 4 for form for 105 weeks. Chelsea's new manager has come in. Everyone going, oh, my God, he's got 40 players. It's a mess. They're terrible. Chelsea, he's come in straight away. Look, they've lost 1 game in 6. They've lost 1 game, 2 games in 9, 1 in 6. Brighton, their 31-year-old manager who's come in, he's had 9 games. He's lost 1 game. He's lost 1 of those 9. Nottingham Forest, Nuno came in midway through last season?
Yeah, towards the end, replaced Cooper. Yeah,
and again,
in the league.
1 defeat in 9. And the worrying stat, before we wrap this up in a minute, Chris, the worrying thing for me in all of this is look at that lost column.
4,
Look at that lost column. 4 defeats from 9, and people still back this. Now, what's even worse, have a look at this. If you scroll down, still keep an eye on the lost column, which is here. Can you see the cursor I'm putting on?
Yeah.
Right. So 4, 3, Fulham, Bournemouth, and Newcastle have all lost less than us. We've lost the same amount of games as Man U, West Ham, Leicester City, and Everton.
And only 1 less than Ipswich.
And the only teams that have lost more games than us this season are the bottom 3 and Crystal Palace. Chris, that is utterly pathetic.
I agree.
That is, and then the last thing I'll show here. Have a look at, you see here at the 6 games of the form on the right hand side. If you look at that top 8, right, every single one of those 7 above us have lost 1 or less in their last 6 games. We've lost 3. I don't know where the loving is coming from. I don't know what is happening to make us so easy to beat and for this manager to have this love. But Chris, I want to hand to you the last words. We're wrapping up. Last words. What's going to happen? What do you think's going to happen? Are we going to win this Europa League? Are we getting
we won't win this Europa League, because we'll come up against one of the second level European teams in this competition who will expose his coaching tactics and will work us out and will beat us. It will carry on regardless, because we don't seem to be a professional football club without the right structure.
Just quickly. Sorry, I know we're not live. We are premiering, but Man United have just sacked Erik ten Hag.
Yes, I said to you at the outset, didn't I? I said to you I'd heard within the next 24 hours he was go. and you watch, they'll have somebody in play within, I'd say, 96 hours. And that's a big club acting like a big club.
I want to remind you here, just quickly before we go, Man United have sacked Eric Ten Hag, right? Our fans love our manager. Chris, have a look at that. We are 2 points better off than Man U, who had to sack Ten Hag, but our fan base, or a large portion of it, love Ange Postecoglou. Look, Chris,
based on absolutely nothing, no logic, no proven track record. And that's what the problem with our fan base is. They need to wake up and have a little look at themselves and ask, where is this reality? We're an underachieving football club, haven't won anything for a long time. Unless we change things, it will get a lot worse for us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Chris, look, I'm going to leave it there. Look, thank you very much. As I said, I'm not going to sit here and shout Ange out. I think inevitably he will lose his job through his own volition rather than fans like me not rating him. It's heading that way as far as I can see. I think, just quickly, I think Tottenham will get a win either against City or Villa. And what we'll see is our fans will do that thing again where we go into overdrive and then we'll go and lose.
That very quickly must. The problem, we'll pick up a few wins here and there. We'll win a few, we'll lose a few. But if we say it's a reset after we've won a couple, then we're just masking the problem. It's never going to resolve itself. We need to take firm, decisive action and say that this man isn't the man for us.
No, completely agree. Look, he isn't for me. I think he's going to stay out the season. If he proves me wrong at the end of the season, he proves me wrong. But Chris, I predicted 7th. I'm going to stick with 7th. That's where I think we'll finish. I've not changed my mind on that at all. Guys, girls, first of all, Chris, thank you very much. Everyone in the chat, please like, please subscribe. We are 12 subscribers away from giving away 2 tickets for Ipswich Town at White Hart Lane on the 10th. Please do subscribe. Take care. And as always, come on, you Spurs.